as you are walking out the door to go to work, you bring up some big, heavy topic that we need to talk about that might lead to conflict, if we're real honest. And you're walking out the door and you're like, oh, by the way, boom, let me drop this bomb. All right, I'll see you in 8 hours. And you shut the door. And then I'm just kind of left there with all the feelings that I have about that. And then I get to stew on it for 8 hours.
Hey guys, welcome to The Bench. This is a podcast that we're doing in our Fight for the Family sermon series. And this is the idea behind the whole series is you can't just automate the relationships in your life. You got to fight for them because there's an enemy that's fighting against them. But through God's word, you can fight for them and flourish in the relationships God's designed for you. And we're talking today about marriage. And to do that, this is going to be fun because I've got the one and only, my wife of 20 years, 9 months, and 24 days, Courtney Shelton. Welcome, babe.
Thanks. Hi.
Hi. All right. We don't do this much, and you're going to feel that as we go through this. Sit down and have a conversation that's recorded. But here's what we're going to try and get into. We're going to try and tackle the Ephesians 5 content that we talked about a little bit and hopefully get a little bit more into some of the practical. I feel like the way this thing goes well is if people get a little bit of the people that are going to listen to this thing, get a little bit of like, oh, there's some hope. We can maybe try that. There's some hope for my marriage. My pastor and his wife have some kind of like something has gone right along the way. And then on the other side, they're like, oh, they're normal. And they have stuff in their marriage too, and it's not exactly perfect. I'm not that worried about the latter. I just hope that we give them something that's helpful somewhere along this whole thing. So here's how I want to start with this. Let's just start going. I don't know that I want to jump right into submission, Ephesians 5:22. I feel like that. Yeah, let's just do that. So if we jump right in where we get right into the practical. No, how about let's go first this way. Here's where we'll jump in. How does you being a Christian, me being a Christian, how does that make our marriage different than if we weren't Christians? Because we're in the South, we're in the vestiges of the Bible Belt. What makes your approach to our marriage different because you follow Jesus versus if you didn't?
I think probably the main thing is that I don't think our marriage is about me and you. I think our marriage is about the Lord and our covenant with him, and that it's not about me trying to make you happy. It's about me pointing you to Christ.
Okay.
And as we are married, like the length of our marriage as time goes on, you should grow closer to the Lord because of our marriage and how we interact and how we are together.
What's a covenant? You use that word.
Covenant is a promise with the Lord. And it's one way. Like, it's not like I have to do something to anything on my part. It's all on him. Like, he has made a promise to me and I've made a promise to him. But if I break it, he doesn't null and void it.
All right. So, gosh, I'm so nervous about this podcast because here's why. Give me an example. That's what makes me nervous when I say give me an example. So give me an example of like the difference between, it sounds like you made a promise with the Lord about me.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I would say that's bigger than the promise that I made to you, like standing up in front of everybody July 9th, 2004.
Right.
So that I made a promise to him.
Yes. So you did that's big because even the way that when I do a wedding now, first you make your vows to God. Yeah. Second, you make your vows to the spouse. Right. To the other person. So how does that change the way that you approach me when, let's say, this is going to be hard to think of a time, but if I do something wrong, it's going to take a while, but if you can, I know, if you can dig down deep for those 2 or 3 times where that's happened, how's it different that that you follow Jesus versus you don't? You know what I mean? I'm trying to get practical for us on this whole thing. So let's say I sin against you.
Yes.
I mean, say I do that. How does you following Jesus change the way that you approach me?
I have done nothing to earn you not sinning against me. Like, truly. Like, there's nothing that in Scripture that says that you are going to act perfectly towards me.
Oh, okay, I got
and
you.
that.
So you expect me to sin?
No, I don't expect. I mean, I do expect you to sin. Yes, I expect
definitely.
everyone to sin. We're all sinful people, and so.
Did you say I've lived
with
up to those
us,
expectations?
Yes, you've lived up to those
Here
expectations.
we go.
But like,
Look at that, guys.
especially us like living together, obviously, like the people that you're closest to are the people you're going to sin against the most likely.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's going to hurt the most and be the most personal. And so when you sin against me or I sin against you, like it's going to hurt more than when I'm road raging and I'm not kind to somebody on the road. Like it doesn't hurt them as much if I sin against them as if I sin against you.
That was a funny turn that you just took there with the road rage.
Sorry.
But that's not necessarily pertinent to this, but I kind of want to dive into it. But,
Okay,
just
sorry.
because other people will definitely feel seen. By the way, I got questions on this thing, so we don't get too far. All right. So I sin against you, those couple of times that's happened, you've been able to like recognize what I hear you saying is, I'm guessing you spend time with the Lord every day. I'm setting you up for something here, right?
Yeah,
But
obviously.
how in the world do you still love me? Considering all those times I've sinned against you. Where do you find the strength for that?
From Jesus. It's God's grace. Like every time that I like can just see the Tim Keller thing about the marble, the big piece of marble, and you can
that's
see
a
what
Kathy
God.
Keller thing.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry,
But
Kathy
yeah.
Keller.
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
that like you look at a person and you see this big piece of marble, but you can kind of see what the Lord is going to shape them into, and
Yes.
I get to be part of the chiseling.
So you see me as a chiseled stone, just
Fox.
statue of
Yeah.
David. Yeah,
Totally.
right.
Yeah.
I like where we've taken this now. This feels good. So in that, your job is what? And what you see the thing, the illustration is, like you said, that person, the Lord is taking that raw marble and turn it into something, right? The beautiful statue of David. And you've signed up to say, I want to be a part of that.
Yes.
Which means I'm not there yet.
Right.
And so there's probably going to be a lot of forgiveness that happens along the way
Yes.
as the Lord molds me into that.
Right.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. All right. I want to ask some more on that. Kind of in that vein, what does that look like practically? How do you go from I'm mad at you to we're okay again?
Usually it takes some time and some prayer and me
Okay.
working through all of like my feelings on it and how I feel like I have been offended or whatever.
Yep.
And then I'm able to see through to your side of it usually. Sometimes not, but generally I can come at it from a like you weren't whatever you did, it was not because you don't love me or you were out to get me.
Hey.
It was we always say assume the best, right?
Yes.
Like that's one of our house rules is assume the best. And so if I am assuming that you have my best interest or that you are not just waking up in the morning and you're like, how can I piss her off today?
That's a good assumption. All right, guys, let's hear that. Don't wake up in the morning assuming that your spouse is trying to make you upset.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That they love you and
Yeah.
what we say, your spouse, like, I believe you love me.
Yes.
I believe you are a smart person.
Yes.
I do not believe that you are an idiot.
Yes.
I believe you're a smart person. And you have my best interest at heart.
Yes.
Right? That will go so far.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting this is good. It's good conflict management. All right, so since we're kind of drifting into conflict management here, I'd like to go back to you thinking of me as chiseled, but I feel like for the sake of people listening, let's
keep it
move
going.
into we got to keep it going. That's tough. We'll talk about that later.
Oh, sure.
So in the sake of for the sake of conflict management, you and I probably have different conflict styles.
Yeah, for sure.
How would you describe your conflict style, or maybe how would you describe my conflict style?
My conflict style is either let's just start fighting,
Yes,
or
that is what it is.
or I run. I feel like I flee.
No, that's true.
I flee. I get in the car and
Fight or flight. Well, you don't know.
I
We'll just
call
see.
a friend and I'm like, hey, I'm on the way to your farm. I'll be sitting out in your pasture in a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And I go and I hide
Yeah.
until I can calm down. Or, I mean, like I'm thinking of a very vivid time when I got mad at you and I went to Barnes & Noble while pregnant with one of our kids and I sat on the floor for 2 hours. And you called me trying to figure out where I was.
Man, I wonder if anybody we know saw you there.
Probably if they did, they saw that I was real pregnant and real mad.
Yeah. Oh, that's tough.
And they didn't approach.
So what would you say if you're fighting style, what's the example of the fight immediately? That's like you just start yelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. What is my style of conflict? Because you've taken up both fight and flight now in this. And usually people think it's one or the other, but you can do both.
No, there's multiple. Yeah. I would say you either freeze and you shut down, and then it's just like nothing. Because you don't want to poke the bear and you don't want to make me more mad.
So true.
It's either it, or you try to logic out of it.
Oh.
Or you try to pastor me out of it.
Oh, let's talk for that for a second. A little aside to pastors that might be listening. Why is that bad?
Because in that moment, I don't want you to be my pastor. I want you to be my husband.
There it is.
It's not great to feel like I'm fighting with my pastor. Because that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But it's okay for me to fight with my husband.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's really good. But the pastor thing aside, back to the more like fighting thing. And when it comes to logicking, what do you mean by that? Because I know what you mean by that, but I'm saying for their sake. Because I think a lot of guys do this.
You are getting to like feelings more, or you are getting to where you recognize that there are feelings in the world. And that people have them and that you have feelings.
Yep. The part of me that feels that way is my brain.
Right. Like you look at when we are having conflict, you look at it as very rational and logical and like these are the steps that should be taken and this is how to fix this problem.
Yeah.
And that's just not always the way that I feel.
No, that's good. I think one of the things I feel like I'm learning is in conflict, I would come with, hey, I want to fix this.
Yes.
Or if you'll just listen to me.
Right.
Which is the whole seeking to be understood instead of seeking to understand you. I was seeking to be understood. So what I would say is some to the effect of, if you'll just be quiet and listen to me, you will see how you are wrong.
Basically,
right?
Yeah.
Like that would be and then the argument will be over because obviously truth has won.
What is the quote about if a husband and a wife fight and I win, then we both lose? Or what?
Yes.
I can't remember.
If one person wins in some way or another, you both lose.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's what that's what that is.
I don't remember the quote, but we'll just take it since we don't know the source.
I
now
mean,
that's ours.
It's not
if
ours.
one person wins, both loses.
Okay.
Spence and Courtney.
Okay. Sure.
But I think it's a big deal that you shouldn't attempt in a conflict, whichever side of that you're on. If you're more of the like quick to emote or slow to emote.
Right.
The one who's slower to emote and maybe is trying to go the logical route. 'Cause it's not always the guy, but I just see a lot of guys do that. Yeah. That's not always the case. But the first instinct should not be to try and fix the other person's feelings. Yes. Right. And I think that's a big lesson I've learned. Instead, listen and try and seek to understand instead of seeking to be understood.
When you've gotten better about asking me, like, are you telling me this because you want me to fix a problem? Or are you just telling me this? Like, so this isn't really in conflict, but like you come and you ask the question
this is helping avoid conflict.
Do you want me to try and fix this? Or are you just wanting someone that you can talk to about this thing that you need to talk out?
I cannot tell you what great marriage advice that is. What is it feels silly. It feels like I am acting like a emotionally stunted person when I say that. Right. But maybe I am. And maybe that's just me since I'm not like up here and I can't perceive it yet. One day I'll get to that level that wonder which way she's wanting me to respond to this. Asking is better than doing the wrong thing. Right. For sure. So, hey, what do you want in this moment? What's the reason? That's great. Hey, let's talk a little bit about, I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. Okay. One last thing. The Bible verse that says, Ephesians 4:26, don't let the sun go down on your anger. Okay, so here we are talking about conflict. So before we move on from conflict, there's a Bible verse that says, don't let the sun go down on your anger. And we were told at various times, hey, that means you do not go to bed angry with one another, right? Have it all resolved before you go to bed. Tell me, and the Bible says that.
I don't think he literally means the sun going down on your anger. I think that you need to have like a time that you're going to revisit and talk about it. But if we are in an argument and the argument starts at 8 p.m., it's not going to do anyone any good to keep fighting until 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, like a lot of times if we have conflict at 8 p.m., we try and like wrestle it out or whatever. We go to bed. In the morning when I wake up, it doesn't feel as big.
Right.
It's like the emotions have settled. It's not as hot.
That's right. So maybe don't let the sun
it.
go down in your anger is a principle first applied to your own anger and sense of self-righteousness and wounding and everything else.
Yeah.
But secondly is don't just stuff it, let it go by and not deal with it.
Right.
But trying to fight well after whatever time.
Yeah. Everybody has a time.
For us, it's getting earlier and earlier.
For sure.
But yeah, not a lot of great conflict resolution happening at midnight.
No.
Yeah. That's all right. Good. Next, let's go to, I want to talk a little bit about friendship.
Okay.
All right. I don't think I want to talk about our friendship yet. Not that I don't want to talk about it, but like your friends, the importance of you having friends and me having friends. I have learned over the years that you cannot be, let's go back to first year of marriage. We were told, hey, you guys are newly married. There's that passage in the Old Testament that says, take a year, you don't have to join the army because you need to take a year and be with your bride. And so people will take that and they apply and they're like, it's time. You're going to have to step away and kind of cocoon yourselves off so that you can have the honeymoon phase and just be with the two of you.
Right.
And we did that. And why don't you talk about what we learned from that?
So we spent the first probably 9 months of our marriage only hanging out with each other.
Yep.
And then when we got to March-ish of us being married, I looked at you and told you that you were not a good friend, that I needed a friend that was a girl because you are not a girl.
That's
and you couldn't be, you couldn't fill that hole.
Yeah.
And things were weird that we didn't have friends. I mean, we did have friends, but like we were not spending and investing into those relationships at all. Yeah. We were only spending time together.
So how do you have, how can husband and wife help each other out in this department, friendship department?
I mean, I think it's probably harder for the guys from what I've seen, just as a general, dudes' friendships are different than girls' friendships. I feel like girls are good about keeping their friendships going, but I feel like guys are better about like doing golf trips or man trips or to the mountain trips or whatever it is. Yep. I feel like girls don't do a good job of taking away time and like having extended time together. But I feel like girls are good about meeting up for coffee or meeting up for a walk or things like that. But I would say our marriage is not what it is without like me having the friends that I have. Yeah. Because I watch my friends with their husbands and how well they honor their husbands when we're having conversations about them. Like even if they come in and they are talking about having a fight with their husband, I don't ever leave that conversation hating that husband.
Oh, that's big. Okay. Let's dig in here. I have like three things I want to come back to, maybe to the guys side of it. I'll come back to the guys side of it and I'll talk a little bit, but you dig in on that because I feel like I've heard you talk about this before. When you're with trusted friends, and that probably matters, like maybe talk a little bit about who we're talking about here, trusted friend group. What's the difference between, or how do we navigate like, hey, I need to talk about something going on because I can't just stuff it down. I need some friends who can help me go through this, but I don't want to, it would be dishonoring to God and to my husband to bash him. Right. However you want to say it.
For sure. Definitely trusted friends. That circle of people is pretty small for me. But I know them well enough and I know their husbands well enough that they have the same kind of relationship that we have of assuming the best and that we're not out to get each other. And so whenever my friend comes to me and is like, well, we're wrestling through this decision about school. Let's say we differ about school. And he wants to do this and I want to do this. And we're really having a hard time coming together. I don't ever think that he's the enemy. Yeah. Like we're really big on, we're on the same team. And I think that I have surrounded myself with some friends whose marriages are also that same way, and looking at them and seeing their marriages. It's not in an Instagram, they have this rose-colored glasses marriage. I get to see the real bits and pieces of their marriage that they share with me, but it challenges me to want to have a better marriage because of those friendships.
That's good. I got another question.
Okay.
And by the way, you can ask me questions. I'm just like firing them off because you have so much wisdom, and so much experience from the 2 or 3 times that I've sinned against you that you're able to offer. But I was thinking, like, I've got a handful of friends who I was just with one the other day, and he said, hey man, he knows about how we've had a really busy season this spring as a family, and we're talking through that. And he goes, all right, this needs to come to an end. And this summer you have got to invest into your family more and ministry less.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? I'm setting a reminder on my phone to text you in 1 month to ask how this has gone. You need to be thinking about how you're going to do that, and kind of work through it. So I'm like, that's something a friend needed to say. You don't need to say that to me.
Right.
You say that to me, I feel differently than if a friend says that to me. So it's really good. So here's what I'm thinking right now. What are the things that a friend, so I'm going to go with the wives group, and then over here, husbands, what do they need to say to each other? What is it that they're reluctant to say and they never say to each other, but somebody needs to say it? You know what I mean? And so maybe this is a moment of like, somebody needs to say, for example, we'll use the one you were just talking about. Don't bash your husband in front of others. I don't know. Maybe there's a better way. The better way to say it, because this is something that women would say to each other. But what are those things that often don't get said? Because like, I don't know if it's my place to say that. Yeah. That in Christian friendship, they need to say.
Yeah. I think probably that their kids don't come first if they have kids.
Ooh.
I think that a lot of women need to hear that they are sacrificing their marriages on the sake of parenting. And that when those kids grow up and they're gone, you're still going to be with that guy. And so they've got to continue to invest in that relationship. I know a lot of...
Are you saying your husband is more important than your kids?
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Absolutely. I mean, I know a lot of women who have now like toddlers who've never left their kid like overnight. And I think it's important to invest in your marriage and for him to know that he comes before the kids. And I mean, obviously, like that baby season is nuts and crazy, and it's a lot. And moms are like literally physically sustaining that child. But he also needs to know that he has not taken second place to the kids.
That's good. So these are sweeping statements we're making, or not sweeping, but general statements we're making. So if that's your case, then there's like whatever that looks like for you, making that priority shift. And maybe that is, hey, if you haven't gone away for a night, then maybe that's what you do or something else. But that's good. What I'm thinking the one thing that one of the things I feel like guys need to say to one another's husbands is don't take your wife for granted. It's because she's your wife. Because there's a common like, hey, you pursued her pretty hard when y'all were dating or whatever. And it's like, where'd that go? Now you just take her for granted and you put all your energy into the work because you see like the chance for another promotion, and maybe you didn't realize it, but that was like a promotion from dating to marriage. You're like, well, no more promotion. So just kind of get into a rut or whatever. You know what I mean? So is there anything else that's on your mind? Is like, man, this is what, maybe I'll even take it to church mom Courtney, because that's what you are. What does she need to say to wives? Titus 2 kind of moment.
I mean, I think going back to the bashing thing, I think that early in our marriage, we would make a joke, and I'm going to do air quotes on that because it was not really a joke. There was like definitely some like hurt underneath it, but we'd kind of sideswipe each other to be like, well, the trash doesn't take itself out or something like that in front of other people, like a joke, and to try and make it feel like a joke, but it just makes everybody feel awkward because actually what's underneath it is you're punching.
Don't punch each other.
Yeah.
Physically. Or
with your words.
Or with your words, yeah.
Also, like, we're just not, you should never be the butt of a joke that I make.
Oh, shoot.
With people. And I should never be the butt of a joke that you make with people. Unless it's like something that we've agreed on that is a funny thing about us. And then we can tease each other about it.
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean? But I mean, that's also like
And you
safe
can
people.
always pick up when that's the case.
Right.
You can always pick up on a couple
Yeah.
when that's the case and they're having fun with it.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. We're about to do some like quick hit. Like these are some best practices
Okay.
in marriage.
Okay.
All right. Quick hit best practices in marriage. Things that we've learned that we're like, man, this has really helped us.
Mm-hmm.
In that, we may also come across some what we lovingly call dumb tacks. Things that we
Okay.
did that we're like, don't do this.
Yeah.
It'll save you so much.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll go first. I have one in mind that's more recent, and I'll give you a chance to think of one.
Okay.
All right. And then we'll see where we get with this.
Okay.
But the first one that I think is one that we've implemented recently, which is the calendaring at home
Oh, yeah.
Sunday night date night. So here's what this is.
It's not a date night.
It's not a date night. Exactly. So Sunday nights we order some cheap takeout, so neither one of us has to cook, but we're not like, I don't know if you can order fancy takeout now that I say that out loud, but we don't. So cheap takeout. So this is Chinese food. This is something like that. And we are sitting down. We're going to watch 1 or 2 episodes of a show that makes us laugh. Mm-hmm. This is not serious TV show time.
Right.
Where, some of those feelings you talk about might come out. We don't want that. And then after that, so we laugh, we're well fed. Now we're going to spend anywhere from 20 minutes to over an hour sometimes going through our next 2 weeks worth of calendar.
Right.
Because that's going to help us feel like, and obviously at the stage we're in, we need it way more than we did before we had kids. But even then, if I look back on it, I go, I bet that would have been good for us then. Because it's like a same page meeting.
Yeah.
So it's not a date. Don't let this replace your, we date every week. We at home. It's a meeting that we're trying to make less miserable because calendaring is miserable to
you.
To me. Yeah, to me. And so this helps.
I like my calendar.
I know you do. You have a physical calendar.
Yes.
And you're so committed to
I have colored pens.
Yeah, I know. You're so committed to it. And I'm committed to my Google Calendar.
Yep.
And every week someone hears this and they say, you can share a Google Calendar. And we say, yeah, we know. And still we do.
I do share your Google Calendar.
Right. And then
I
you
see
still
your
do
calendar.
yeah. And then you still have everything.
But, yeah.
All right. So that's one practice that I feel like is helping us week in, week out on a regular basis. What's another, like, hey, here's some best practices, things we've learned that would say this is good, or dumb tax we pay that we're like, don't do this.
I think that the dumb tax that we've paid is as you are walking out the door to go to work, you bring up some big, heavy topic that we need to talk about that might lead to conflict, if we're real honest. And you're walking out the door and you're like, oh, by the way, boom, let me drop this bomb. All right, I'll see you in 8 hours. And you shut the door. And then I'm just kind of left there with all the feelings that I have about that. And then I get to stew on it for 8 hours. But I mean, we haven't done that in a long time. You haven't done that in a long time. And you say it's I always get it wrong. Don't have a
$100 conversation in a 10-cent moment.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't have a $100 conversation in a 10-cent moment. So
the 10-cent moment is you're walking out the door
my
and we
hand
can't
on the door.
actually have this conversation.
Or there's a version of it that it's hand on the door and it's look back and go, hey, by the way, we need to talk about blah,
The
or
budget.
or the budget.
My favorite.
A literal $100 conversation. Sometimes that's it, but it's $100, 10-cent moment. But sometimes it's this one's also bad. You corrected me on this one before. I'll look at you, and this was in particular when we had young kids, because this is when this situation would occur. You are on the floor with like 2 kids rolling around and whatever, changing a diaper or something. And I say, hey, you okay? And you're like, I mean, how can I answer that?
Yeah.
The only answer I can give you as what if I say no? Are you going to not leave and go to work?
Right.
And I'll probably be like, no, I'm definitely going. This is crazy.
I got to get out of here.
Yeah, I gotta get out of this thing. But that's another version of that. Like,
Yes.
if you're not prepared to hear a true response, then don't ask the question, right?
Yep.
Pray over your spouse.
Yeah.
I love you, and I'll see you later.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
I think also along with that would be the choosing the right timing would be like if you are on your way to fall asleep, maybe that's not the best time to bring up that heavy topic that you need to talk about.
Who would do that?
It's weird. It's weird that happens to some people in marriages, I've heard. That as you're falling asleep all of a sudden.
I don't know how I do this. I have like had a long day, but when I lay down and something like, am I like looking up at the ceiling? I don't know what it is that I'm like, ooh, I want to talk about this.
Right. And a lot of days we've had our porch time, which we haven't talked about.
Let's talk about porch time. Go ahead.
After dinner, our kids are big now. And so they clean up from dinner. And you and I, if it's nice, we go and we sit on the porch and we talk about stuff.
Yep.
And we can talk about how our day was or...
Are the children invited to porch time?
No.
That's right.
No, they are not.
Yeah. They keep trying.
Sometimes they come and look out the window or knock on the door and we tell them to go away.
Yeah. The dog is also not invited.
No, the dog is not invited. But we have porch time. And so what's really interesting is that we have this time where we can talk, but sometimes you still choose to bring it up.
Yeah, that's right.
As I'm falling asleep.
Well, it's a good thing we have those conflict principles for how you can forgive me about things.
It is good.
That's really great. But no, porch time's a good one. That is the like, hey, figure out for basically what we're kind of getting at. I think we don't do this great. So I'm about to say something, and I think this is true both in when I'm preaching on marriage and preaching on parenting. I'm like, it's kind of like what I was reading the other day is like, before we had kids, I had 4 principles on parenting and no kids. Now I have 4 kids and like no principles on parenting. Just good luck out there.
Yep.
You know, no, it's just got the Bible. Same thing's true with marriage. Basically, trying to say we don't have this perfect.
Right.
But I think what we're kind of getting at is where possible, if we can have a little bit of time most days, a little bit of time most weeks, and some kind of time each year where we're like, man, trying to break away. And again, we don't do it every year, don't do it every week, every day. So this is like an image to strive for. But just like there's a Sabbath built into your day, week, and year, if you look at the scriptures, some kind of investment into our marriage that is separating out and creating some space, however little that might be. And it differs by age and stage. Is going to be valuable to the long-term health. Because like you said, those kids are going to leave.
Yep.
I mean, the countdown clock is on.
Let's not talk about it.
Let's not talk about it. I know.
This is a sensitive subject.
That gets in the feelings. Because now for us, it's like, it's really on.
Yeah.
And we love our kids now. Yeah. No,
we have always, what? This is new information.
No, it's the tough thing of like, man, we're seeing them grow into these awesome people, from little kids to awesome people. And the idea
it's like really real that they're going to leave.
Yeah.
No.
Oh man. We'll save that for the parenting podcast. Or episode.
Said something and it made me think of this. I had a friend that taught me, and it wasn't until, probably 10, 12 years into marriage. But the principle that she and her husband have is they discuss daily, date weekly, and depart quarterly.
There you go.
Is like their rhythm that they try and have. And
Baptist?
So that,
That's awesome.
know. But
discuss daily, date weekly, depart quarterly.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's something to strive for.
And so that's literally what you just said. Like we have our porch time, we have our calendar time, and then we're
alliterated.
Not. Yeah.
We're gonna do that now. What's a new thing we're doing?
We've been doing it for years.
No, I know, but we're gonna keep saying those letters. The
okay.
I feel like
Okay.
Depart, discuss.
Nope.
Date. Yeah, discuss, date, and depart.
Yes.
That's what we're doing now. That we've already been doing, but that's what we're calling it now.
Okay.
I love it. All right. I feel like we covered a lot of ground here. So what's what's your favorite thing about being married to me? I'm just messing. Yeah, I have to answer that.
What's your favorite thing about being married to me?
It's hard for me to pick one thing because actually, no, you know what? That fitting for this podcast, you and I have always had a very high premium on trust and honesty. Yeah. And you always say what you are, refined by the Holy Spirit, what you're thinking.
Yeah. That is
Doesn't matter whether you're on a podcast or not. Yeah. So the person you see whenever you're on the stage, or whenever you're in front of whatever this YouTube or wherever this thing goes, is the same person you're going to get if they see you in the hallway.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
That's what one of my favorites. And the same person I'm going to see maybe a little less, more unfiltered when it's just us. But
For sure.
That's one of my favorite things. Yours is probably the chiseled thing.
For sure, it's the chiseled thing.
Yeah, I think that's
obvious. I thought that was like just a given.
That was obvious.
Yeah,
I like that. That makes sense to me. That squares with what I know. All right, well, this I don't know how we land this plane. That feels like a good spot.
Sure.
To land the plane is me being chiseled. I hope that's what you took away from our marriage podcast, marriage episode that we've done. No, thank you. It's a big deal. Sit down, talk about our marriage. And we're going to continue on in our series of sermons and in podcasts, fighting for your family. Next time up, we cover a little dive into parenting more as we talk about fighting for your kids. That is the Bench Podcast. See ya.